Brothers and sisters, I want to take a few moments to talk to you about the passage that we looked at during the prayer meeting on Tuesday evening, our last public meeting before we had to stop all our services and meetings. If you could pick up a Bible or your phone, pause this video and take a moment to read Joel 2, verses 1 to 17. Joel is in the Old Testament. You get Daniel, and then you get Hosea, and then you get Joel. So you find him and you read chapter 2 and verses 1 to 17. Now, if you've read it all, you'll find that some of the language seems to be quite difficult. The picture here is of an invading army that is very powerful. It's because Israel has walked away from God, and God is awakening them to their situation by sending a foreign army to come into their land and to attack them and to take from their land in order to bring them to that point. If you look at verse 12, where God says, "Yet even now declares the Lord, return to me with all your heart." So the picture here is of this army coming in to the land. Now, the reason I chose this passage on Tuesday at the prayer meeting is because the image of a physical army actually relates to us in our situation, not of a physical army, but of an invisible army, a virus that no one can see, but is invading our country and indeed invading nations around the world. And if anyone's been out to a supermarket in the last day or so, verse 3, where it says, "Fire devours before them, and behind them a flame burns. The land is like the Garden of Eden before them, but behind them a desolate wilderness." Now, I'm not saying Sainsbury's is like the Garden of Eden, but a trip to Sainsbury's or Tesco's or any other place at the moment where you go in there and it looks like a marauding army has gone and taken everything. And the effect of this virus upon our nation, and indeed upon many of us. Verse 6, "Before them peoples are in anguish, all faces grow pale." This virus is causing great fear in this nation. Also, verse 9, "They leap upon the city, they run upon the walls, they climb up into the houses, they enter through the windows like a thief." And this virus is creeping in to people's lives. So there is great concern in this nation. But as God's people, we need to be encouraged by the fact that God is in control. Notice verse 1, it speaks of the day of the Lord coming. And verse 11 actually says that this is his army. Now, it's very hard to grasp when bad things happen how this fits with the sovereignty of God. And hopefully in another message I will look at that. But let's just receive this truth right now, that even though this is hard, even though we don't understand fully what God is doing, he is still in control. And we can trust him that somehow he's working out his purposes. But notice also that this passage is calling for a response. I mentioned already verse 12, "Yet even now declares the Lord, return to me with all your heart, with fasting, with weeping, and with mourning, and rend your hearts and not your garments. And again, the call is later on in verse 15. Blow the trumpet in Zion, consecrate a fast, call a solemn assembly, gather the people. Now, while we can't all come together physically because of the virus, we can all seek God at the same time, and if we're physically able to do so, to fast. Now, can I encourage you to join me tomorrow to seek God? Now, many of us are busy. Some of us will still be at work. We may be arranging for our children to be at home from school. But even with all of this, can I encourage you just to take a few moments, half an hour, or a couple of times during the day, to seek God for our church, our community, our nation, and the nations of the world. I will be busy tomorrow also with much organising and preparing to record a sermon on Sunday. But nonetheless, we need to pause and seek God. And if you're well enough to fast, even if it's just to miss one meal, that will be a good thing. And you can use your meal time to seek God. I will put this on the Facebook page in written form as well. But here are some ideas of what to pray for. Pray for wisdom for our government and the rulers God has placed over us. Pray for those who are ill, that they might know God's mercy and the hope of the gospel in the face of death. Pray for those who are bereaved, to know the comfort of God. Pray the needy and vulnerable will be shielded from infection, and that we might love them as we love ourselves. And pray for those working in medical care and essential services, that they will know God's help and strength under extreme pressure. And pray that God might have mercy upon this nation. Brothers and sisters, thank you for watching. Thank you for praying. I will post a written post tomorrow, just a reminder of these prayer points, and then I will be bringing a sermon, God willing, up on Sunday morning, that you can nourish your souls and worship God in your homes and hear his word. The Lord bless you and keep you. If you need anything, then please either post a comment below, or direct message me, or direct message through the Facebook page, and someone will get back to you as soon as we can. The Lord bless you and keep you, and make his face to shine upon you. The Lord lift up the light of his countenance upon you, and give you his peace. Amen.